China has the biggest navy in the world, the biggest army in the world. Now they have warships off the coast of Alaska.
How dare they?
Threatening Taiwan. In coming years, China will have 1,500 nuclear warheads, it's believed. The U.S. just arrested 2 sailors accused of spying for China within our military. So the question is, how would you deter China as a president?
Here we go.
Well, this is the #1 issue we're facing. And of course, we haven't been talking about it, and we act like that letting Russia win in the Ukraine is like a gimme as opposed to a gift to China. Russia has become China's gas station. But how would we do it? The Biden administration is a complete fail. China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day, more than any other country in the world. They do not even have all the food they need to feed everybody in that country. So they don't have energy security or food security. But the Biden administration sends Blinken, Yellen over there. They're over there. They don't even bring up energy because they're too busy trying to kill the U.S. energy here. And what we need to do is not meetings, not press releases, because something that would send a lot more than a press release is actually Harpoon missiles. We need anti-ship missiles on Taiwan. The way that you have a war never start, which is the goal, the way you have peace through strength is that you actually have strength. You actually have deterrence. And what we have in what we got going on in Ukraine is an example of when deterrence fail. What is an example there of Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the fact that he greenlighted Putin moving into Ukraine, and then now they see weakness, and when they see weakness, they make a move. And we have to be strong, and we have to be strong both in Ukraine, and we can solve the southern border. Absolutely, we can do that, because guess what? There's only 19,855 authorized people for the Border Patrol, but they're not all staff because the Biden administration doesn't enforce law enforcement. But Biden administration wanted to put 87,000 people in the IRS as opposed to giving the money and the support we need to our own Border Patrol.
Sadly, this guy is not going to move a lick. Yeah, he's not going to move at all.
He doesn't even have a full percentage point.
Let's fire
At all. He's
the
not moving at all.
87,000 IRS agents and hire or double the number of Border Patrol agents. I just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago.
What are we talking about? Because nobody's answering the question at hand. I thought we were talking about Ukraine or China.
It has led to the death of 70,000
They have to deflect and make themselves look better.
because of fentanyl. Plus 6 million illegal crossings since President Biden has taken office, and 200 people on our national security watch list have been caught at our border. How many have not been caught at our southern border? If we just spend $10 billion, we could finish the wall.
Big budget
for $5 billion more. We could have the military-grade technology to surveil our southern border to stop the flow of fentanyl and save 70,000
Maybe the
Americans
CIA should start working with the
year.
Mexican drug
That
cartel.
should be the priority of this government. And as the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more questions on China. I do want to.
So he's building a wall.
I want to say I couldn't agree
Build
more.
a big,
It's not
beautiful
just the
wall.
70,000
Mexico will
for
pay
fentanyl.
for it.
Lost 200,000 people to overdoses since Biden took office. That's 300 people a day. We're taking mass casualties, and that's a statistic, but these are sons and daughters, nieces and nephews that we're losing. We've got North Dakota troops down there flying night helicopter missions from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop these transnational criminal organizations. They've got better funding on their side than we've got on our side.
Speaking of which, Governor Hutchinson, images from earlier this month,
U.S.
Governor
government is the
Hutchinson,
biggest drug
Vice President Pence, images from earlier this month. Vice President Pence, it really doesn't help. I'm asking a question. Earlier this month,
That guy's
images showed
terrible.
suspected cartel members crossing into Texas with rifles. Do you consider this an invasion?
That's legit.
Would you authorize lethal force along that border?
Oh, here we go.
There would be lethal force used by the Border Patrol, law enforcement as needed to protect the border. Absolutely. When you look at the military has to be used for intelligence gathering purposes. This is not unusual. Whenever I was in the Bush administration, we went down there and met with President Vicente Fox of Mexico and asked his help in going after the cartels. And he looked at me and said, they're a problem to us as well. And so we joined together and we took down the Ariana Felix brothers leading the Tijuana cartel. And that
I'm
made a
confused
difference.
on
Ramon
what the
was shot and
freaking
killed,
topic
and
is.
Ben Amin was captured.
Everybody's kind of
Cooperation
talking
makes a
about
difference.
whatever
We
they want
cannot
to
be
talk
successful going
Well,
against the cartel
This is
unless
debates 101. They
we
want to make themselves
bring
shine
in
out.
Mexico as a partner. We have to use economic pressure to accomplish that. President Obrador has not been helpful, and we have to use economic pressure that this administration is not using. The rule of law has to matter on both sides of it.
Okay.
This is critical. I've done it. We know what needs to be done. The military has to be limited in its use. When after 9/11, we had the global war on terror.
Man, this
and
guy's
guess
pretty
what?
terrible.
We
Hey,
protected the
shush,
border at the
Hutchinson,
same time.
shush.
You can do both.
Okay, let's go to Governor DeSantis. So, as president, would you support sending U.S. Special Forces over the
Oh
border
my God.
into Mexico to take out
This is
fentanyl
unhinged.
labs,
This is just
take out drug
unhinged. They're
cartel
talking about
operations? Would you
starting a
support
war
that kind
with
of
Mexico.
American
This
military
is so
Yep.
unhinged.
use?
Yes, and I will do it on day one. Here's the thing. The cartels are killing tens of thousands of our fellow citizens. You want to talk about a country in decline?
They're
You
killing
have the
tens of
cartels
thousands. This is a new
controlling
number I've never
a lot
heard.
of part of your southern border. We have to reestablish the rule of law, and we have to defend our people. The president of the United States has got to use all available powers as commander in chief to protect our country and to protect the people. So when they're coming across, yes, we're going to use lethal force. Yes, we reserve the
Yes,
right
we're gonna
to
kill
operate.
those
How
damn
many more
brown
tens of
immigrants?
thousands are we going to let to die? I am sick.
This is
I've met
unhinged.
angel moms
It
throughout
is.
this country. I met a lady in Texas
We
named
have
Tracy,
to project that
and her
who's going to
son
be worse on
took
killing
one
immigrants.
Percocet
Guys,
that was laced
This
with
is
fentanyl.
unhinged.
One
Immediately
Percocet?
Matter of fact, talking
That
about
is
it.
happening all across this country because of the poison that they are bringing in. So,
So
as
the
president,
cartel has
would I
always
use
been a
force?
thing.
Would I treat
They're
them as
doing this
foreign
because
terrorist
AMLO is
organizations? You're
nationalizing
darn
lithium.
right I would.
it's
You
speaking
know,
out
Vice
against
President
Yes,
NATO.
that is the reason.
Vice President Pence,
Just real quick, so the cartel has always been a thing. Do not believe they're bullshit. This is because Mexico is nationalizing lithium and they've been speaking out against U.S. imperialism, and war never ends. Don't believe them.
Look, we secured the southern border of the United States of America and reduced illegal immigration and
Mr.
asylum
Trump,
abuse by
that's your former boss.
90%. When Joe Biden took
What's
over, he
weird
threw
about
open the southern border of the United
President's
States. And the wave of
candidacy,
humanity, the wave of
just like right
fentanyl,
now,
it's
we
been eloquently described here
brought
as
immigration
is a
down by, what
wave
have he said,
of
by 90%. Who?
Martha,
You and
yeah,
Trump? The guy you're running against?
who is best prepared
Your
to be
good record that you're
You know-
running on, Mike Pence, is,
And I have to tell
is
you,
the
with
guy
all
you're running
humility,
against.
I was there when
weird.
we negotiated through the government shutdown and got the funding available to build the wall. I was negotiating on Capitol Hill around the clock. I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy on behalf of the President of the United States. And AC, you're so right. It's because we used economic pressure to bring the Mexicans to the table, and they allowed us to have people wait in Mexico while they applied for asylum and ended asylum abuse overnight. We got the Mexicans to deploy their National Guard to their southern border and
But that
our
was
southern
Trump,
border as
not
never
you.
before. And I want to promise you, as President of the United States of America, I will engage Mexico the exact same way, and we will partner with the Mexican military, and we will hunt down and destroy the cartels that are claiming lives.
You'll
in the
never
United
Also,
win.
Mexico
You'll
wants to
never
join
win.
BRICS. Is that
That
true,
is
Nick?
related to
Somebody
this
put that in the comments.
is that
Maybe that's
almost
another
7
reason they want to
million
go into
migrants
Mexico.
have
They want to
crossed
join
this
BRICS.
border, our southern border, during the
AMLO
Biden
spoke about
administration.
it, but it's not official.
So, Governor
There's
Christie,
no
what
official
would
request,
you
but AMLO
do
spoke about
about
it.
the 7 million who are here? How would you handle them? What would you do?
Look, Martha, the first thing we need to do is to stop any more from coming. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do with the folks that are here is to, again, as we've talked about all night tonight, we have to have law and order in this country. We have to enforce the law. And what that means is to make sure that people who come here illegally are not rewarded for being here illegally. We have so many wonderful people from around the world who are waiting in line, following the law to try to come here and pursue the American dream. And those people are waiting and waiting and waiting because we haven't dealt with the problem of the folks who are here. We have to have them detained. We have to make sure that they are not rewarded for having broken the law. And one last thing on this fentanyl issue. With China, we can't take our eye off of that ball. Right. Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said. But China is sending these chemicals to these drug cartels for them to create the fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens.
What about Johnson & Johnson? What it did to us?
In an act
the people here.
Us, killing our citizens. We better make that priority one in our conversations with China and to try to straighten that relationship out, because if we don't, we're going to lose more and more of our citizens.
They just say shit. They just say China sending
those people back.
Of course. You'd have to.
They just say shit.
We have a lot of issues that Americans care about. Next up, we're going to talk about the crisis in education, as millions of American children are not proficient in reading or math.
Because you guys don't want to fund it. What the?
Yes.
No.
You don't fund it, and then people don't do good.
In red states, and I know in the blue states, because blue states is not good as well. But like when you look at Alabama, Mississippi, a lot of these red southern states, they are some of the least educated areas in the developed world, fam. They're not only the bottom of the United States rankings, like compared to countries like China, Singapore, Japan, many countries in Europe. Mississippi and Alabama is a joke. And we can say that it could be critical of both parties. But the people who pretend that great things are great in red states and great things are great in blue states, they're ridiculous.
So while we're on commercial break here, okay, what did we learn? Vivek had somewhat a coherent, good answer in regards to Ukraine. As for the rest of them, they're all in for forever war. China is their great enemy. They're ignoring why there is a human migration crisis, why there are immigrants coming our border, why we're seeing a massive influx of refugees is because of, again, U.S. foreign policies in Central and South America and the continuation of the war on drugs. How many times does RBN or Hardlands Media or anybody else have to keep on repeating this? Because that is the real fact. Another issue, too. Again, there is no solution. They're just saying, hey, tighten the border. Well, guess what? You're not going to beat the cartels because there's a demand from Mr. and Mrs. America to buy the drugs. And speaking of which, look, these corporations, yes, to some extent, maybe Johnson & Johnson was somewhat, sort of, maybe kind of held accountable for its help with the opioid crisis here. But all these large pharmaceutical corporations are keeping Americans addicted to the need for drugs, okay? And because we don't have health care, because we don't have a comprehensive health care system, all of a sudden people lose access to getting their pharmaceutical drugs. And of course, they go on the streets because there's addiction. There's an addiction crisis here in this country. No solution, just tighter regulations, more war. And of course, again, China's the big bad guy because they got a larger navy and they got more nukes now, apparently. So again, what is the difference? What are we learning here? We're learning that no matter who sits in the White House, Goldman Sachs is going to have the final seat at the table, as well as the military-industrial complex, big pharma, the prison-industrial complex, and so much more.